This is the third Tuesday of the month Waupaca City Council meeting.
It is Tuesday, October 16th, 2018. I call this City Council meeting to order, and let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll ask Sandy to read the open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And also take roll for us.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett. Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Chuck Whitman.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Under the consent agenda, there are no additions to that consent agenda. And unless any council member or staff would like to see any item moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Peterson, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Regular agenda, Sandy?
An addendum was uploaded to the city website on October 15th, adding ordinance number 13-18 under new business.
All right, that's the one addition. Otherwise, the regular agenda is as printed. Again, we would need a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Fair, that we approve the regular agenda with that one addendum. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Public input. If there's anybody in the audience or council members or staff that would like to speak to the council on a non-agenda item, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your time at the podium to 3 minutes or less. Anybody that would like to give public input? All right, let's move on then. We have,
Yep.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Sorry, a little slow there.
No, I'm just a little quick.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Daniel Smith, 201 North Division Street. I actually have a question regarding that bridge that goes from Schwinline Park over the river. You know that one?
Yeah, we do.
Is there any plans to actually repair it, or is that thing just there condemned forever?
I was hoping that Justin would speak up here, so let's see if it.
Well, I guess at this point, we do have plans in the future to replace the bridge. At this point, we don't know exactly where, but that was part of the park planning. And I think there's some money in our capital planning, but it's beyond 5 years at this point, so. So there is a plan, but it's moving very slowly on that.
All right. Thank you anyway.
Are you in favor of? Are you in favor of putting it back in?
Yes, I actually live real close to that.
All right. Good to know. All right, Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public input? All right, let's move on to department head reports. Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. My report begins on page 3 of the packet, and I have to start out with bad news. I'm sorry. It's that time of year with budget. The state's released its shared revenue expenditure restraint and general transportation aids estimates for 2019. The city lost $34,000 worth of state aid funding for next year. With the increase in our allowable tax levy, it's almost a break even on our revenues unless we have any increase in any of our other revenue sources. An update on the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands Study Committee on the investment and use of school trust funds. They we're supposed to meet on October 10th about discontinuing the no prepayment penalty. They're looking at getting the state trust fund as a avenue for local communities to borrow as a last resort. So they're looking at us going to the market or the local bank first before we would attempt to get any loans from the state trust fund. And they were going to remove anything that was longer than 10 years. So it was looking at short-term borrowing, which is usually what we borrow at, and then removing the ability to borrow for revenue obligation loans like TIF projects or utility funding. So that's some of the stuff that was items that were just going to be topics of discussion for that meeting. I haven't received a follow-up yet on the committee as far as their minutes of what was discussed. But I would bring you up to date next month because we do use the state trust fund as an option for borrowing. We updated our financial software to a newer version at no additional cost. Any updates are now included in our maintenance for our software that we pay annually. And then we received a summons for damage for $167,948 on a claim by Deborah Welkening for a slip and fall outside the health and fitness headquarters building, which we own and maintain the outside. And our insurance company has retained an outside attorney to represent us on that matter. So I will keep you up to date as to how that is progressing. Otherwise, I don't have anything else.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments for Kathy? All right, let's go to the library. Peg?
Thanks, Mayor Smith. I usually talk about all the fun and exciting things that are going on at the library, and there's always something, but we provide so much more than fun. Story time takes a break in September, but starts back up this month, and it's one way we have of helping families to get their kids ready to go to school. We give literacy ideas to families who can continue that learning at home, and we are the place for learning outside of school. Last week was Teen Read Week. The teen room provides a safe place for teens when school's not in session. With their peers, they can have fun with their peers, and we can provide opportunities for them to connect with a caring adult, our teen librarian, Taylor Wilcox. She had a promotion last week where she had the kids read and record their reading, and the person who read the most got to give her a pie in the face. So giving those little incentives sometimes gets those kids reading, and once they start reading, they will continue. We have a civil discourse discussion that is just beginning, and it's a way for people to understand how to talk so others will listen and how to listen so that others will talk. So I think it's something that's really needed in our nation right now, and I hope that some of you will plan to join us on October 23rd when we're going to be having a civil discussion about climate change. Our exhibit next month is a Vietnam Memorial exhibit, and it is a way to help us remember and memorialize our Wisconsin Vietnam vets. So we do so much at the library. We recognize that there are barriers for families who want to use the library, so we offer a food for fines a couple of times a year, and we help the food pantry while at the same time eliminating some of those barriers for families. It's a place for help with technology and job searching. A few months ago, a patron came in and had to do a video interview, and he didn't have the capability of doing that. We provided that technology. He was able to have a Skype interview at the library in a study room, and he came back to let us know he got the job. These are just a few stories, but I want you to understand that we provide essential services that aren't provided anywhere else in the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Peg. Questions, comments? All right, let's move over to Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. So in the treatment plant, the big thing down there is we have promoted Jesse Landry to our new wastewater superintendent. So that has just recently happened. It was just an internal interview process, brought in a couple experts to help out and gave us a thumbs up on Jesse and then also another applicant. So with that, we have an opening, which we are currently advertising for a certified operator. We're hoping to get that certainly fulfilled by the end of the year and get our wastewater treatment plant staff up to full speed before next year. Street side, City Hall Square construction project, the roads are finally open. We got the markings down, so feel free to come by and use the parking. Paver installers are still out there. They're working underneath traffic. They should be done by the end of the week. And the one thing that has not been completed yet is our street lights. Those are on back order. There's a long lead time for those as they are decorative lighting, and it's just the nature of the material of that installation. So when they come in, we'll get them up as soon as possible. Evans Street, not much of an update on that. The roadway has been surveyed, so the people that live in that area might have seen somebody walk around. There's some flags up there. Locate was done, so we are planning a walkthrough with our consultants by the end of the month. And once we can kind of figure out, we get something in our hands that shows kind of the layout of the land, our road versus the property lines, then we'll come forward and schedule a public information meeting and definitely send out invites and advertise for that. Street crew completed the concrete apron at the fire barn. It looks fantastic. Yep, we went around the corner. We did a little bit extra than what we first initially planned. The budget worked out well. The guys really kicked butt. They did an excellent job, our street crew, and did a fantastic job. So, leaf pickup, it's that time again. I've included in the packet on page 56 the schedule for the 2018 leaf pickup, and we do rotate through the wards. And that does rotate every single year, so a new ward is first on the list this year. That does happen. So please get your leaves out to the corners. No sticks, no brush, no garbage, no bags. Just get them out to the corners. We'll go through the schedule, and when we have time, we'll rotate back through again so we know that trees fall leaves at different times. So just get them out there, and we'll get them for you. Well 3, or in water, well 6 is back up and running. 3 will be up and running in just a few short weeks here. We had a couple issues which we thought were going to, I guess, exceed our budget, but we don't think that's going to happen anymore. I don't have the final numbers, but anyways, when the crew pulled well 6, they said it was the cleanest well they've ever seen, and they weren't lying. So we take great pride in maintaining our wells and providing safe water to the city of Waupaca. So we should have both of those back up and running shortly. The hydrant flushing is completed. I didn't hear any complaints. I'm not sure if you guys have. I think water had a couple, but definitely from previous years, those complaints have been down. And finally, in facilities, we were awarded a tree grant, the Great Lakes Basin Tree Grant. I brought that forward for approval of a resolution last year. We didn't get it. We reapplied again for this year, and then we were awarded $2,500, which we will get for our 2019 budget for additional trees within our city. Again, trees, we have sent out our letters for the dead, dying, and diseased trees, and we are working with people to get those cut down and safely removed. That just about does it, Mayor.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Any questions, comments? All right, let's go to Parks and Rec. Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. We'll start down in the senior center. They had another fundraiser a couple weeks ago. They had an auction at the rec center and did very well. A lot of that stuff was donated from community businesses and partners, and they made around $2,700. So they're doing a good job at those fundraisers and really have the support and a lot of volunteers. because they have a lot of volunteers down there, she's going to have a volunteer banquet coming up here soon to say thanks to those people that really helped down there. That's going to be on November 15th at 11:30. Next year is apparently, based on what Sarah told me, is 50 years since the senior center was started in the community. So they're already working on planning some celebrations after Serenity Park is done for being around for 50 years. So that's going to be some big things going on next year and probably a big event. I don't know exactly what she's planning, but I wanted to get that out there as well. So that's been in our community and an important piece of our community for a long time. In the recreation side, we do have our annual Halloween party coming up, which is Friday, October 26th from 3:30 to 5:30. This is one of our most popular events, and we're going to hold it again this year. And Cassandra's working hard on that, actually making some changes already, which is a good thing, and I think that will bring in a few more people. In partnership with the library, we're going to show Coco that night as well, because of course it got rained out this summer. So we're going to show that night. So it should be a good event. We partner with some groups from the county as well, do some educational stuff, hand out some free apples and some free food. So it's a really good event, and I look forward to having a lot of people show up to that. This Sunday is our infamous Swan Bowl, which is the end of our flag football. So aptly named, of course, the Swan Bowl. So that will be the end. We do a big ceremony. We do awards. We do the national anthem. We do a little bit of everything. So that's this weekend. Finish off, and then we get right into the basketball season a couple weeks later with beginner and intermediate basketball. In the parks, we're getting close to agreements with Farmington, Dayton, and Town of Waupaca moving forward as we move into next year. So we're getting really close there, and I can update those as we move forward. Parks are closed, and as closed, I mean the water's shut off and the bathrooms are locked. Everyone can still use our parks, of course, but we have to get that water shut off at a certain point every year. So that's taken care of. We're looking to possibly redo some of the flooring at Swan Park, so I'll update on that in the future. Kathy will be talking about some plans here in the new business with possibly setting up a trust fund with the remaining donor money with South Park, so you'll hear about that in a couple minutes as well. And that's about all I got.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. I understand it's happy anniversary to you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I have a mouse that told me that, yeah. Chief Ozell.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, my packet starts on page 34 in the doc there. Last week, Tuesday, Kathy was so gracious. She came over and she met with the police commission and went over our proposed budget for next year. The police commission was very impressed with everything that was put together. He understood what was going on, and they were very thankful for Kathy coming over and doing it for us. Also, next, on October 27th from 10 to 2, we're going to be doing our drug take back again. Last spring when we did this, we brought in 69 pounds of medications that were brought into our department, and that was disposed of. So I'm hoping that we get at least 69 pounds again this year. In the fall, if not more, but that will be disposed of up at the state crime lab again. And it's really important that if we have that stuff in our houses, to get rid of that, as to there could be children that may get into it accidentally, and it just makes it a safer environment for everybody at home. Also, with Halloween coming up, our trick-or-treat is going to be on October 31st, as it normally is. That's going to be from 5 to 7 o'clock. We will have extra officers that are out working on the road. Again, we'll go up to the Holly Funeral Home area. We'll be working with the local group there, and the fire department, I believe, is going up to Swan Park, and they'll be up in those areas. So again, that'll be on Halloween, October 31st from 5 to 7. And lastly, on Halloween, Piggly Wiggly's going to be doing another fundraiser for the police department and fire department. They're going to donate any proceeds that are taken into the store that day, and they're going to donate back to the departments 3%. So if you happen to be out that day, it's a win-win for both departments because we're able to get some items that we're not able to budget for. Everything else I have in the packet is informational, unless anybody has any questions.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Josh?
I've spent the past few weeks evaluating different antivirus software. The program we were using has expired and is cost prohibitive to continue with, so trying to find something new. I've got something that looks promising, and we're kind of testing it out at City Hall for the next couple of weeks while I've got a trial period on it. I've been meeting with phone system vendors. Our RFP for a new phone system is out. I'm seeing some very promising things out there. I'm seeing some things that maybe aren't quite what we need, but I'm expecting, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5, 6 proposals hopefully coming back at least. There's a lot of interest out there from different vendors. We've had some staff changes in the department. We had 2 people resign last month. Made a new hire, Clifford Ratke. He was works in the clerk's department helping them out with a file scanning project, and myself and Ralph and the other staff have had a chance to know him, just him working down here in the basement on stuff, and he seemed like a really good fit, so we've brought him on board to help out with community media and Waupaca Online. On the community media side of things, someone else on staff, their duties have been enhanced to do more work over there as well, so it's kind of like starting from scratch on that side with training and trying to get things to a new normal with Waupaca Online. As far as staffing goes, and then spent some time upgrading, putting in some new SCADA computers at Public Works. The one in the water department got severely disabled in a power glitch, and then seeing how old they were, I decided to replace the wastewater's computer right away. So those computers are key in operation of the water and wastewater systems. Those have been both replaced and up to date and good standing. That's my highlights for the past month.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Any questions for Josh? Comments? All right. And Henry news, I thought Henry said that he'd be back tomorrow, is it? On a limited?
I believe his return to work is tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see him at the next meeting. All right. Let's move on to unfinished business. This is your addendum that you received yesterday. No?
This is the second reading.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right. So this is the ordinance number 12-18. Justin, you want to just go over this real briefly again? This, as Sandy said, this is the second reading, so we are going to vote on that tonight.
Yep. So this is to, I guess, adjust the ordinance for the 8-hour parking on Jefferson Street. So with the construction project back there, there was a slight reconfigure of the street and also of the parking lot for City Hall Library. So the wording there has been updated to reflect a more accurate, I guess, setting of the parking to include both sides of Jefferson and also the parking lot. So that's what you have there is just replacing the old wording with the new wording of Jefferson for the 8-hour parking.
All right. Unless you have heard some comments or you have some comments on the ordinance, we'd be looking for a motion to approve this ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Keelan, that we adopt ordinance number 12-18. It's an ordinance under City of Waupaca Traffic Code 7.095, parent 4, parking prohibited in certain specified places. Discussion. Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
and Chuck Whitman.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, Justin. Under new business, we have the creation of the South Park Donation Trust Fund, and Kathy, I understand you're handling this.
Yep. My item is on page 112 of the packet. The memo is just to inform you of the funds that we received from the Friends of Waupaca Parks that was set aside as donations for the construction of the South Park improvements. There is a residual balance of $138,754 after all the bills have been paid. We have received those funds, and we would like to set up so that a fund that would be on the city's books, but set as a trust fund, where the principal, that $138,754, doesn't get touched unless it's for a project for South Park. It would be an improvement project. And then we would invest that in to create interest income to be able to use on park improvement projects within the park system. By having that fund segregated, it'll show the donors that the intent is still continued with the money, that it's not commingled, to be used for anything else than donate improvements to South Park. We'd ask that they be restricted and that council would have a majority vote to be able to use that principal amount with an item that would be brought forward to council. It'll show up on our financial statements as a trust fund towards the back of the financial statements in other in segregated, but so it won't be part of our governmental funds. And I'm hoping that because it would be a long-term investment to earn some decent interest rates, than having it just sit in the check like it was at the Friends of Waupaca Park.
Okay, any questions, Kathy? Go ahead, Dave.
I think it's important to note, I believe the donors have been contacted, so they understand and are supporting this as well.
The donors were contacted. We only received one response, Andrew.
Yeah, so Henry and Aaron, and now Henry and myself send out donor update letters. This was on the last letter, and we received one response back, and it was a positive response, and we did not hear back from anybody else. So they have been made aware of it, and you know, generally, I think we would have heard something if it wasn't a positive note to it. So, like she said, it's just an opportunity to invest some money, look towards the future of our parks and things that may need to be done, and then also just being transparent with it so that, you know, you guys know where it's going, the donors can know where it's going, and that it's staying in where it was supposed to stay to begin with in South Park. So we just want to be transparent about it and just look for the future and try to invest this money to try to create some opportunity for other, you know, projects in our parks as well.
All right. Understood what they're trying to do here? Paul?
Would the investment restrictions that the city has also apply to this trust fund?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Hagan, that we approve of the creation of a South Park donation trust fund with the principal amount restricted until authorized for use on a South Park improvement project. Any further discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Scott Prochatsky,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
and Mary Fair.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
All right, we have an appointment, President Paul Mayo.
Thanks, Mayor. The mayor appoints Steve Delfoss to the Emergency Planning Committee. After hearing the mayor's appointment, I would need a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Whitman, second by Chestnut to approve the mayor's appointment of Steve Delphos to the Emergency Planning Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Paul. Next, we have license report number 1424. This is our operator's license, bartender's license, same thing. You have a number of names on there. Of course, these are all pending background checks and payments of any fines owed to the city. We would need a motion to approve these operator's licenses.
Move to approve license report number 1424.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Fair, that we approve of license report number 1424. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And now we're to the addendum. Justin?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. So the addendum was added. We adjusted our stop signs out on Jefferson and Union with the project. So the old orientation was the stop signs were facing east and west on Union Street. After the project, now they faced north and south. So now you have to stop when you're driving on Jefferson versus Union. And we just need this, basically this ordinance update to reflect on our sign map. So that needs to be done every single time. So that was one of them. The other one was a cleanup from a previous project. Similarly, Churchill and Royalton, when that project went through, the signal lights went down, stop signs went up. So again, that is details of just wording, basically to replace how that intersection is controlled. So removing the signals and then installing stop signs for east and west of Royalton and also for northbound Churchill Street. So that wording just needs to be updated and then updated on our sign map. So this is the first reading.
This is the first reading, yeah. So we'll be taking this at our next meeting. So if you hear any comments about it, this is a good time to just do a little public service. As Justin had said, they switched the stop signs on Union Street and Jefferson Street, but be really careful as you drive through there until people get used to it. I know they got the orange flags up, but there are still people that think Jefferson Street is a through street and people that think Union Street is still a stop sign. So be on the defensive until everybody gets used to that. All right, let's move on then to, there are no issues or projects of discussion. We have communications and recommendations of the mayor. Don't forget on the 7th of November, which is a Wednesday, is our next scheduled city council meeting. It's not the 6th, so make sure you get that on your calendar. Anybody else have anything for the good of the council tonight? Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Keelan, that we adjourn till our next regular scheduled meeting, which is Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Drive safe.
Go Brewers.
And go Brewers.